Hello and welcome. I have the first video of 2025. It turns out that everybody else did not have a book ready and I had the book ready, so I have the first video of 2025. So welcome back. Remember, if you wish to support us, then there is our shop where we have books and we have writing services. There is also a Redbubble shop which has over 100 designs, and you can support us by going there, or you can like, comment, share and subscribe, and those are the ways that you can support us with the works that we are doing. So that out of the way, I have the first book of 2025. And I remember I was looking through the videos that we did in 2024. You may have seen the highlight reel of our favorite videos. And one thing struck me is how many German books that we had a look at in 2024, and I do not think that that is going to especially change in 2025. This book is not written by a German writer. This is written by a Turkish writer, but it is in a big part of the story is in Berlin, so it is sort of fitting in with our German Weimar Republic books. So that book is Sabahattin Ali's Madonna in a Fur Coat. Now, I picked this book up because it is set in 1920s Berlin. It is from a writer who had spent time in the 1920s in Berlin, and I thought that it looked très interesting. I had never heard of the author. I had never seen any of his writing. So I picked it up cold with no knowledge of anything to do with it. And because I picked it up cold, I did not read the introduction first. And that is something that I would very strongly advise with this little book. So Ali, the author, is a Turkish author. He was born at the very end of the Ottoman Empire. He was born into a military family, and he spent time in Germany as a student, returning to Turkey in 1930 when he was 23. So this is a story of a young person in Berlin. The novel was not written until much later in his life, not that it is that much later in his life, because he died at 41, and he died at 41 in 1948. He was attempting to leave Turkey, because as a writer he was quite radical, and he was criticizing the Turkish government, which he had done since he had arrived in Turkey, back in Turkey in 1930. The bulk of his writings are très political and very much attacks on the newly formed early days of the Turkish Republic. So they are completely different works from this one. I am not actually going to talk about this book in that context, Pasky, because I do not actually know enough about early to mid 20th century Turkish politics. I also have not read any other Turkish writers. This is the first I have read. And also because I have I read this within a different context. I read this in the context of this as a view of Berlin from an outsider perspective. So this one was sort of my antidote to Christopher Isherwood, who I found, well, we all watched that video. We all know how I found Christopher Isherwood. So it fit in with that, in that world. That is how I read this. So I would say do not, unless you are reading it as a piece for, in regard to looking at Turkish culture and Turkish understanding the world at that time, I would not read the introduction till after you have read the book. The book is beautiful on its own. Also, I think that this is a book that is quite unique in Ali's literary oeuvre. A lot of his other writing is very overtly political, so that is also has an impact on how one would read this. This is not an overtly political book. So, what is this? This book is a narrative within a narrative. There is the narrator, a younger man who has lost his job and has been seeking a position and meets an old school friend who finds him a position in his company. The young man shares an office with another man called Raif Effendi. And Raif Effendi is a very quiet man. He is he worked on translations for this company into German. He's lived in Germany, and he speaks German fluently and is translating documents for the company. He is never been promoted. He does not push himself at all as an individual. He is frequently ill. And so it is during one of these frequent illnesses that the narrator goes to Raif's house and sees his living situation, where he has a large extended family who are all living off his income, even though his income is very small, and who likewise treat him as a bit of a burden, whether his children or whatever. So he is this very meek and seemingly put upon individual. He does get sicker, and he asks the narrator to bring him back a notebook that is in his desk. And this notebook forms the center of the novel. The notebook is telling the story of his time in Berlin as a very young man. He is a young man with a well-off father who wishes to have something for his son to do, since Raif is quite at a loss of what to do with his life. His father, discovering that you can live very cheaply in Berlin, sends him to Berlin, where this very shy and dreamy young man discovers the Europe of the storybooks that he has been absorbed by. So this Berlin is very much exoticized. So just as it is quite interesting to see Europe exoticized in much the same way that Europeans exoticize a place like Turkey or the Near East. It is very much for him, a Turkish man. Europe is this exotic place, this different place. He go to museums, he go to different places, he immersed himself in German culture, he learned German. He is supposed to be going there to learn about soap making, but it really is dabbling in this. He's not very serious. And one day he go to an art gallery of modern art. He has been looking at more traditional art. He hasn't had that much interest in the modern art that is happening in Berlin at this time. And he looked at the painting until all of a sudden he captivated by a self-portrait, which when he go home and he read a review of it, refers to the painting as Madonna in a fur coat, because of its resemblance to another painting. Raif is very captivated by this painting and goes back and back and back and back to the gallery to look at it. And other people in the gallery do notice this, including a woman who comes and speaks to him. And he is so captivated by the painting, he does not recognize that the woman who has spoken to him is Maria, the artist. Herself, it is a self-portrait. He again encountered Maria on the street, but is a bit drunk, a lot drunk, and fighting off the advances of his also drunk landlady. And he does finally meet up with her when he goes out again the next day and follow her to where she is working. She is a nightclub singer on top of being an artist. And they meet and they are both fascinated by each other and they begin a relationship. Now, I will not go very much further into the plot parce it would spoil it. Obviously, we know that they are not together at the end of this because he is not with Maria at the beginning in the framing narrative. We don't. I will say that their relationship is. He left Berlin because his father died in Turkey, and it has all the promises as he go to back to Turkey and sort out his family estate. I will not tell you any more of the plot. This was one of those stories. One of those stories where this thing is about 160 something pages, is a kind of story that is so tiny and you could just read the whole thing in a single setting. It is the kind of book that I spent time I would read and then I would have to put down, not because I was not enjoying a bit, but because I was enjoying it so much. I did not want it to end. I did not want to race through the book. It is a highly readable book. I did not want to race through it and miss out on the beauty and the joy of this writer. This is a translation. the emotion of it, the beauty of the way that the story is told. It is told very economically, and yet you feel as if you have been absolutely living this with the people. There is no sense that you are missing out, or the only thing is you will feel like, I wish there was more, but more would spoil the beauty of the writing itself. So it is one of those exquisitely poetic novels. Now, given that this is a more romantic story, I do wonder if his other novels, which are more overtly political, have that same quality, whether that is an inequality of his writing overall, or if that is a quality of the writing in this book. I do not know. I have, as I said, I have never read this writer before. I literally picked this book up because of what I read that it was about, and I thought, oh, that sounds marvelous. I would love to read that. I think that it is very interesting in terms of looking at this, in terms of, this is a Turkish writer who is like the people of Germany. The countries have had an enormous upheaval. The First World War has had just as much of an upheaval on Turkish society as it has on German society. As the Ottoman Empire had fallen finally during the First World War, so what had once been a huge empire in the Near East and into parts of Europe had finally fallen apart, just as German culture and society had been restructured under the Treaty of Versailles. So both of the he is coming from a culture that understands how dislocating that can be. So you are, instead of having, as Isherwood had, the victor going and gloating over the vanquished, which is how ultimately that felt, that did have that feeling, which is part of what made it feel kind of ick to me. This one is more of a, I understand your confusion, Pasky, because we are feeling the same confusion ourselves. This struggle to, well, if we are not what we were, what are we now? What are the answers to this? And I think that allows for a real sympathy from Ali for the German peoples who he encountered at this time. His experience of Germany is a Weimar experience of Germany. It is not an experience of Germany that is clouded by the events of the subsequent regime and the Second World War and the post-war. He is looking at even at the times that he wrote this book in the early 40s. And it was serialized in a newspaper. So even when he is writing this book, he is writing this book of a people who are no longer in this situation, a world that no longer exists. The Weimar world does not exist in 1940. So there is a level of nostalgia to the book, there is this aching, this longing, this regret in the story itself, and it just all worked together to make it an unbelievably beautiful experience. So this is if you read the Isherwood and were like me, kind of disgusted by it. This is an absolute antidote to that sort of feeling. As I said, it is a highly romantic book, not just because it contains a romance, but because it is tapping into that European romanticism, which for a Turkish writer is exotic. I think one of the things that I have found with reading a lot of, with all of us engaging with a lot of German things lately, and most of the German things are pre Second World War German things, is while there is certain stereotypes about Germans out in the world, the work, hard work, sort of stereotypes, the following instruction and very autocratic style of things. What I see in a lot of the works that we have been looking at, and remembering these are works that Germans are writing for themselves, is the incredible romanticism of German culture. The other thing I think this is important to remember is that there is no single unified German culture. It is a multi-religious, each of the former states that came together with unification all have their own culture and quality and viewpoint of the world. And so the more things that you look at from writers around Germany, different backgrounds, different parts of the country, creates a far more nuanced view. And this, I think, helps with that, partly because it is an outsider looking in, but an outsider who is sympathetic and is not looking at Germany as a rival European power, but as almost as this place that is only seen in books and in pictures, a place that is exotic and interesting. And it is a very fascinating way to look at a country that I think that we are too quick to dismiss as, oh, we know what that is like. As no, I do not think so. And that is why I enjoy reading things across many different cultures. It provides a great deal of nuance. It is also why I do not look at things, I try not to look at things in total isolation. As I say, I have not read other Turkish writers, and I honestly do not have the bandwidth to open up a Turkish front in my reading. The German and the South American, Spanish-speaking American fronts are big enough new fronts to open lately. But it is certainly an area that in the future I think that I will examine if Ali is an example of the writing that comes from this part of the world. So I would highly recommend Madonna in a Fur Coat. It will make you cry. It will make you cry. It is exquisitely beautiful. It is very, very sad. Don't let that put you off. I think that there is great pleasure in having something that is exquisitely beautiful and very sad at the same time. It is a sophisticated little book from a man who was clearly a very, very talented writer, and who, if I have the opportunity to read more of his work, I will certainly take it up. So that is Madonna in a Fur Coat, our first book for 2025. And I do not know what I will be back with you next time. I think that in the next video, I think her ladyship has to give her turn. Her ladyship and Laura have not been here for a while, so I think that I will probably be the next couple of videos for the new year. So Happy New Year and au revoir. If you would like to support this channel, come across to the Black Cockie Press website, www.blackcockiepress.com.au, where you will find books and other writing services to help with your writing.